Good morning. Well, as I sat down to write this talk, everything went dark. I don't mean inside me. I know I am English, but I really don't mind saying nice things about the French every now and again. Once in a contract, it's totally okay. No, I mean the lights went off. In Lisbon, across Portugal, across Spain, even into parts of France. This was a major, major outage, caused, apparently, by some rare atmospheric hoo-hoo that turned international power networks to mush. It was weird, wandering around shops with no lights on. Oddly eerie to see a full city of ATMs with no power to process the cash withdrawals. Pavements lined with stationary people waiting for buses because suddenly the electric metro and the electric trams were all out of service at the same time. And then in the evening, the power outage became even more pronounced. It's funny, isn't it, how much we depend on light without even thinking about it. Apparently, according to the neuroscientist John Medina in his book Brain Rules, about 80% of everything our brain understands comes through vision. Without it, especially for those of us who are used to relying on sight, the world can seem a little less solid. When the lights go out, it's not just the city that fades. It's our sense of certainty too. And France is somewhere that knows this better than almost anywhere else in the world. Not because they have constant power outages, but because of a very special place in French culture. A place where the lights go out on purpose, and where somehow the darkness shows us more than the light ever could. If you're wondering where I'm going with this, here's a clue. France invented the cinema. It was back in 1895 in a little basement in Paris. The Lumière brothers held the first public screening, and while their movie... No, were they there? There they are. While their movie was only 46 seconds long, it's fair to say it was more consequential than many, if not all, of the box office blockbusters that followed. 46 seconds, not even a whole minute, of a steam train pulling into a station. What a movie! What a narrative arc, eh? But this was cutting edge. This was the newest thing, the latest and greatest. Legend has it that the audience screamed and dived for cover when they saw the train coming for them. They were convinced that the train would burst through the wall and hit them, because they'd never seen anything like it before. That was the beginning, long before Hollywood. And ever since then, French cinema has had this extraordinary ability to turn something ordinary, a train, a cafe, a kiss in the rain, into something incredible and unforgettable. And over the decades, French cinema has developed a reputation for doing things a little differently. Where Hollywood gave us cowboys, car chases, and guaranteed happy endings, France gave us long conversations in cafes, tortured poets staring sadly out of windows, and the occasional 3-hour film where nobody smiles. French. And yet, somehow, they also gave us some of the most beautiful, thoughtful, and human films ever made. French cinema has gone through a few key eras. In the early years after the Lumière brothers' first screening in 1895, two big things happened. First, Georges Méliès, a Parisian stage magician, saw the potential of film not just to show reality, but to create fantasy. And in 1902, he made Le Voyage dans la Lune, a trip to the moon. It was one of the first science fiction films ever made, and he really pulled off every trick he could think of multiple exposures, stop motion effects, hand-painted colors, a fair amount of cardboard and string. And in his very manual way, Miele basically invented the special effects toolkit that filmmakers are still using today. He showed people flying through space, battling moon monsters, crash landing back on Earth. Georges Méliès didn't invent special effects because he had better technology. He invented special effects because he had a better imagination. Now, the other big thing that happened in those early years wasn't down to one person. It was down to societal change. Film became entertainment for the masses. And from around 1900 until the beginning of World War I, French companies like Pathé and Gaumont became the biggest movie producers in the world. And Pathé not only made movies, but they led the charge in building permanent cinemas across Europe for people to gather together in the dark to enter another world as one. But World War I changed everything. France's film industry collapsed as resources were redirected towards military production, and it was about the same time that Hollywood started to take off. So by the time that the Great War had concluded and France wanted to turn its attention back to making films, they just couldn't compete with the Hollywood giants. So French filmmakers did something different. Instead of trying to make these bigger movies, they focused on more artistic and more personal ones. In the 1920s, this resulted in experimental, dreamy, emotional films like Abel Gance's Napoleon. A movement now known as the French Impressionist cinema was born. And this gave way to surrealist films towards the end of the 20s, but by the 1930s, this spirit had then evolved again into poetic realism, a style of storytelling that was both romantic and tragic, and often about working class lives. And that was the first 3 decades of cinema. 30 years later, after that, and the French New Wave was all the rage. That was the 1960s, a complete rebellion against traditional storytelling. Young directors like Jean-Luc Godard and François Truffaut decided that they didn't need big budgets, they didn't need big stars, or even a script that made obvious sense. What they wanted was truth, messy, complicated, beautiful truth. And in the middle of all of that, a young director named Jacques Demy decided to do something completely different again. He thought, what if we told a simple, small-town story, but made it feel like an opera? What if every word was sung, but the emotions were still raw and real? And what if, instead of grey, miserable streets, what if we flooded the screen with colors so bright you'd think you were dreaming? And that was how Les Parapluies de Cherbourg, the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, was born. Les Parapluies de Cherbourg isn't like any other musical you've seen. There is no dancing chorus line, there are no huge tap numbers, there are no jazz hands. Instead, it's a small, very simple story, a love story, told in a way that somehow feels bigger than life itself. Every word is sung, just like a modern opera. But the characters aren't kings, they aren't gods. They're an ordinary girl and an ordinary boy from an ordinary French town. Their dreams, their worries, their little acts of love and misunderstanding, all wrapped up in the most gorgeous, bittersweet music composed by Michel Legrand. And the colors, well, Jacques Demy and his team went to enormous lengths to make the whole town of Cherbourg look like a candy box. Pink houses, lemon yellow shops, bright blue doors. It's Cherbourg, but it's not as you've ever seen it before. It's a Cherbourg of the heart, not of the map. And at the center of the story are two young lovers. Geneviève Emery is a sweet 17-year-old girl who works in her mother's small umbrella shop, and Guy Foucher is her boyfriend. He's a 20-year-old car mechanic. And they are deeply, truly in love. The naive, head-over-heels kind of love where the future looks simple. They'll get married, they'll live happily ever after. But life doesn't care about their plans. And Guy gets called up for military service and is sent to fight in the Algerian War for 2 years. And they're devastated. They spend one last night together, very discreetly implied for the time, and Genevieve falls pregnant shortly after Guy leaves. The umbrella shop is struggling, the war in Algeria is ongoing, and Genevieve's mother, deeply worried about money, being able to support her unborn grandchild, pushes her daughter towards marrying a wealthy, kind-hearted diamond merchant. So by the time Guy returns from the war, his former girlfriend, the mother of his child, is now married. His life, once full of dreams, is empty. And the film ends in a particularly melancholy scene where Guy is back working as a gas station mechanic. Genevieve unexpectedly drives in, now elegant, now wealthy, with her young daughter, their young daughter, in the back seat. And it's a painful scene, full of aching longing, and yet a reluctance to change the path that life has coursed for them. The film plays with colour in a similar way to way that Judy Garland's Wizard of Oz movie did. Bright in the dreamy moments, muted in the throes of real life. Michel Legrand's music is a key component, especially the main theme, I Will Wait For You, which has become iconic and somewhat ironic, given the outcome of the movie. But like an opera, every word is sung, but in its distinctively French way, this is real life with all its humble grit. In an interview back in 1964, which was shortly after the movie came out, the director and writer Jacques Demy told Cahiers du Cinéma, I wanted to tell a story where everything is beautiful, even sadness, where love is absolute, yet not victorious. So from the candy-coloured dreams of Cherbourg to the salt-weathered shores of real life, let's open the portal and collect our next two ports of call in French France, Brest and Cherbourg. Alrighty, so this is the port in Brest, and you can see that there are a couple of different options for the gangway, which is typical in these Atlantic coast ports because of the tides. And so things change through the day. Some ships it works out better to do the higher one, some ships works out better to do the lower one. Some ships they'll put both up and just see what happens as the tides go through the day. At the port, you don't find much by way of facilities, but you will find buses and you'll find taxis there as well if you want to take them. Let's look at it on a map. And you can see where we are, and you can see where the shuttle bus will drop you off if you choose to take it. It's a short ride, it's about 10 minutes around, and it takes you to the Château de Brest, the castle. And that is where we'll start our exploration. So, the Château de Brest has seen just about everything. Romans, knights, pirates, World War II bombings, and somehow, almost miraculously, it is still standing. It's right at the mouth of the Penfell River. It's been guarding this harbour for over 1,700 years. And that makes it the oldest working castle in France. Today, it's still a military base. You can't wander everywhere. But part of it is open to visitors as the National Naval Museum. Walking around, you can almost hear the echoes of ships setting sail, cannons firing. It's not a fairy tale castle. It is a battle-scarred survivor, just like the city itself, actually. The Tour Tanguy looks like a leftover from a fairy tale. It's a chunky medieval tower. It's perched on the riverbank, staring straight across at the Château de Brest. It's one of the few really old buildings left standing after World War II. Most of the place was knocked down. Inside, it's home to a small museum. It brings the old Brest back to life with colourful dioramas showing what the city used to look like before the bombs fell on it. It's a lovely little time capsule inside. It's not flashy, but it's full of heart. It gives you a real sense of just how much history Brest has carried through the storms. Oceanopolis isn't just your average aquarium. This is a full-blown deep-sea adventure without getting your feet wet. It's designed like a cluster of futuristic domes on the edge of the harbour, and it takes you through polar, tropical, and temperate marine worlds, sort of like this cruise. It's complete with seals, sharks, penguins doing their thing, and it's surprisingly big. You can spend hours here, and it's genuinely fascinating. Whether you're into science, whether you like watching jellyfish without deadlines, it's great for the kids as well, all 2 of them. But it is also really good for grown-ups. I would think of it as Brest's best love letter to the ocean. Curious, colourful, and slightly damp smelling. In a good way. Place de la Liberté is the heart of modern Brest. It's a big open square, and then you can get your bearings from there. You've got the town hall, then you can decide whether you're in the mood for fashion, for food, a pint with a Celtic twist. On the one side, you've got Rue de Siam, that's lined with restaurants, bars, pubs, and a nod to Brittany's Celtic roots. On the other side, you've got Rue Jean Jaur, and that tempts you into the chic boutiques, the fancy tableware, the stylish homeware. The area itself isn't particularly flashy, but it's full of life, and you can find all sorts here. Shops, snacks, people watching, all in one. If you hop on Brest's cable car, in just a few quiet minutes, you'll float across the river, and you'll land at Les Ateliers des Capucins. And now this was once a naval workshop. It's a massive industrial space, but now it's been reinvented as a buzzing cultural hub. It's full of exhibitions, cafes, locals out enjoying the day. It's modern Brest with a twist of history. And don't miss Rue Saint-Malo, which is just behind, because that is one of the few streets that survived the war. And so you still get there the cobblestones and the character of pre-war Brest. The cable runs every 6 minutes, and so it's easily the smoothest ride in town to get up there. And on the map, you could pick up the cable car where it says the letter C, and then that will take you across the river up to number 5. I've lost connection on my clicker, by the way. I'm back. Thank you. Tucked away in a green valley on the edge of the town is the Conservatoire Botanique National, and this is probably Brest's most peaceful hidden gem. It's not just a pretty garden, it's a rescue centre for some of the world's most endangered plants, and it's set inside old quarries. The park feels wonderfully wild, with shady paths, greenhouses, quiet corners for you to explore, and you don't need to be a botanist to enjoy it. You just need to be someone who appreciates a bit of nature and a good excuse to slow down. It's calm, cool on a hot day, and surprisingly full of stories if you look closely. If you've ever wondered what life in the French Navy looks like, then this is your chance to find out. Hop off the bus at Du Petit Tour and allow about 2 hours for a guided visit of the Brest Naval Base. It's one of the most important in France, and your tour will be led by a young naval recruit. The tour gives you a really rare behind-the-scenes look at this high-security world. If you're lucky, you might even get to board a warship whilst you're there, if there happens to be one in port. The visit is free, but you'll need to have a valid passport or EU or NATO national ID card. So only people from an EU or a NATO member country are allowed to visit the facility. It's fascinating, very official, surprisingly friendly though, and definitely something different. Standing over the Cour d'Ajou, overlooking the harbour, the Monument Américain honors the role Brest played as a major transit point for American forces in both World Wars. The original column, inaugurated in 1937, was destroyed during the German occupation, but it was later rebuilt in 1958 as a symbol of Franco-American friendship. It doesn't tower over the city, but its setting on a peaceful promenade lined with trees and sea views gives it a quiet dignity. It's a short, meaningful stop where you can reflect on Brest's international history and take in the fine view of that naval port below. And the final one for Brest, the Pont de Recouvrance is Brest's most recognizable bridge, and for good reason. It's a massive vertical lift bridge that spans the Penfeld River. It connects the city centre to the Recouvrance district, and when it was completed in 1954, it was the largest bridge of its kind in Europe. Its huge concrete towers and steel lifts give it a bold industrial look, and it still lifts for ships passing through the naval base. It's oddly satisfying to watch. I don't know if it will rise for us tomorrow, but whether you cross it on foot, by car, or on the tram, it's a working monument to post-war engineering. Let's have a look at all of them on a map. All right, now we're going to move on to Cherbourg. Alrighty. Cherbourg is the kind of place that's seen it all. Invasions, ship launches, ocean liners, even musical heartbreak in Technicolor. And tucked into the Cotentin Peninsula in Normandy, it's been a naval stronghold since Napoleonic times. But it's also a working port town with a stubborn sea-weathered charm. During the D-Day campaign, Cherbourg was a key objective for Allied forces because they needed the deep water port, and they got it. But it's not a war in industry. This is also the last European stop for transatlantic dreams. Titanic sailed from here, and a place where daily life still flows with the rhythm of the tides. This is the port that we're going to walk through. We're going to come off on a sky bridge, walk through this luggage hall, Le Grand Départ, and it's so atmospheric as you walk through. And it would have been the case that inspectors stood in the middle section between those rows, and you would present your case over, and they would check your case because they didn't have x-ray scanners and stuff. They would check your cases and then permit you through for boarding. Here it is on a map, and it's an easy walk to get into town. The port itself runs a shuttle bus here, and they charge for it. You may want to do it. It's €4 for the day pass, and you can pay on card inside the port facility itself. If you don't want to take it, you're not going to be too hard done to walk it. It's easy to get to the main city centre, and it's easy not to get lost as well. You're going to walk up. As soon as you get to the first bridge, you'll cross the bridge, and then you're there. But the shuttle bus runs throughout our stay, and the stop is at the Tourist Information Office. So let's go through our top 10, or 9 in this case. La Cité de la Mer. That's Cherbourg's flagship attraction. It's part science centre, part maritime museum, part emotional time machine. It's housed in the stunning 1933 Art Deco transatlantic terminal, and it is also home to La Redoutable, which is the world's largest submarine open to the public. So you can explore deep-sea technology, Titanic's final stop in Europe, exhibits on ocean exploration. There's a real sense of drama here, from interactive underwater zones to cinematic displays that tell the story of the sea and those that cross it. I would say if you want to go here, allow at least 2 hours. You might want to linger. Most people do. Le Parapluie de Cherbourg, Maison du Parapluie. This is the umbrella shop and museum. It is an elegant workshop and museum, and it's Cherbourg's tribute to the art of umbrella making and to the film that made the town famous. It's located in the former Transatlantic Maritime Hospital, and Le Parapluie de Cherbourg combines a working factory, a boutique, and a small museum. And you can learn about the umbrella design process, the brand's founding, by the way, in 1986, so after the movie, and the cinematic legacy of Le Parapluie de Cherbourg, the film. Now, this is not a film museum. There are no props or costumes, but it's a stylish thoughtful space where craft and culture meet, and the umbrellas are handmade, high-end, and très chic. Also, très cher, which means very expensive. The cheapest umbrella there will set you back somewhere in the region of 150 euros. But you don't want the basic model. Who uses the basic model? When I went in there before, I was looking around and I saw a really nice one. And I was asking about it, and even the shop assistant said, it was over 500 euros for an umbrella. And she said to me, that one's not very good, it's not waterproof. But at least they have honest salespeople. This is Cherbourg's quiet cultural gem, an art museum with an unexpectedly impressive collection. Le Musée Thomas Henry was founded in the 1830s thanks to its namesake, who was a local scholar who donated over 160 paintings to help educate the people of Cherbourg. And today it houses more than 300 works, including one of France's finest collections of Jean-François Millet, who's the Normandy-born painter of rural life. You'll also find Italian, Flemish, French work spanning centuries. It's not big, but it's beautifully curated, calm, perfect for an hour or so of art, especially if you need a break from the weather. Another museum, very interesting, set inside Fort de Roule, high above Cherbourg. The Musée de la Libération tells the story of how this crucial port city was liberated during World War II. The museum focuses on daily life under occupation, the Battle of Cherbourg in June 1944, and the strategic role that the port played in the Allied supply chain after D-Day. There are personal objects, photos, maps, uniforms, all bringing the history to life. And the views, absolutely worth the climb. Panoramic scenes over the port city, over the sea. It's moving, it's thoughtful, and it's a great stop that connects Cherbourg's landscapes to the stories that it remembers. And then right in the heart of Cherbourg, Parc Emmanuel Lié is a little oasis of calm. It's part botanical garden, part Victorian curiosity cabinet. It was created by Emmanuel Lié, who was a 19th century astronomer and botanist who also happened to be mayor of the city. And today it's free to enter, full of surprises, winding paths, exotic trees, a charming little museum in there, one of France's oldest greenhouses. Again, nothing flashy, but full of character. It's a lively spot to just sit with a takeaway pastry, especially if you've had your fill of submarines and sea stories. It's just quiet, it's green, it's very local. Or you might be after a bit of retail therapy. Or maybe you just need the pharmacy, an ATM, or strong coffee. In which case, Les Ailiers de Cherbourg is the main shopping mall. It's right by the port, it's very easy to reach on foot. It's a modern, compact place. It's got a mix of French high street staples like Monoprix, FNAC, Yves Rocher, and then you've got cafes, you've got bakeries, a few local boutiques. There's also a big supermarket here. So if you're looking for snacks, last-minute essentials, you're not going to find somewhere that's going to win any architecture prizes, but it's really convenient. It's a good place to dip into French everyday life for half an hour or so. Now, France is full of beautiful castles, and this one feels like something out of a storybook. It's just a few minutes from Cherbourg, Le Château de Ravelay. It's a 16th century Renaissance gem set in 18 hectares of peaceful gardens. The blue slate roof, the moats, the formal hedges are picture perfect, but it's the park that locals really love. Wide lawns, rare plants, quiet spots to wander or to picnic. The chateau itself is occasionally open for events or guided visits, but the grounds are free to explore year-round. It's romantic, slightly mysterious, wonderfully untouristy. It's a local treasure worth seeking out. And just think at the photos you can get. You put it online. New home. Hold some keys. Now, some of you want to do this as a day trip. Just an hour from Cherbourg lies one of the most moving landscapes in modern history, the Normandy D-Day beaches. From Utah to Omaha, these wide, quiet stretches of sand were the front line of the Allied landings on the 6th of June 1944. Today, they're peaceful but powerful, dotted with museums, memorials, cemeteries that honor the thousands who fought and fell here. So whether you join a guided tour, whether you visit a single site like Sainte Mère Église or the American Cemetery, it's an experience that stays with you. It's not a day out, it's a moment of deep perspective. And the final one for Cherbourg, about 90 minutes from Cherbourg, is the town of Bayeux. And this is home to one of Europe's most astonishing cultural and historical treasures, the Bayeux Tapestry. Over 68 meters long, this 11th century embroidered scroll tells the story of William the Conqueror's invasion of England in 1066. Complete with ships, swords, the infamous arrow to the eye, it's not just a tapestry, it's medieval cinema, frame by frame. The museum's audio tour is great. The whole visit would take you about an hour. And even if you're not a history buff, it's hard not to be amazed by how much drama they stitched into linen here. And now is the time to see it, because the museum will be closing later this year for renovations, and it won't open again until late 2027. All right, here they are on a map. Oops. So, what makes French cinema so special? It isn't that they invented it, though they absolutely did. It isn't just the clever tricks, the cardboard moons, the black and white cafes. It's that French filmmakers have always understood something that goes beyond screens and stories. Light only matters because there is darkness. Without the shadows, there's nothing for the light to dance against. Without uncertainty, there's no need for dreams. From the earliest flickering trains on a wall to the bittersweet goodbye under a Cherbourg sky, French cinema has never been about escape. It's been about finding something beautiful, even in the things we lose. Whether it's lovers parting under umbrellas, or dreamers sending rockets to the moon, or lonely poets staring into their coffee cups. French cinema reminds us that even when life doesn't go to plan, even when the lights go out, there's still light, there's still music, there's still beauty. Sometimes, especially then. Thank you.